Welcome everybody to another episode, and thanks for your support. And we have a great guest for you tonight, and I'm really looking forward to interviewing her. It's Anna Brown. Anna, how are you?
Hi everyone, I am doing so well. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. Anna's from America, of course. Where are you from again? What part?
I am in the Ozarks in Missouri.
The Ozarks. You're probably familiar with the series, but we won't go there, you know. We won't go. Okay, we hope it's not as scary as the series tonight.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Anna, you're very young, obviously. What led you into this path? Because look, not everybody. There are no customers for this, as himself, Nisargadatta says. You know, what happened, as they say.
Well, when I was a young child, there was a lot of kind of weird paranormal stuff that went on. I was really into like ghosts and paranormal activity type things, but I was raised Catholic. But you could say really what opened this was at the age of like 7 or 8. There was a spontaneous dropping in bed one night. I just had an urge and inspiration to repeat my name like a mantra. I didn't know what mantras were, again, raised Catholic. And all of a sudden there was just no personal consciousness. There was no self-consciousness, and there was just a clear seeing. But that clear seeing felt so natural. It felt just so natural and right. But what seemed to come back in, you could say, was dogma, beliefs, unworthiness, insecurity, self-consciousness. And so you could say that's what kind of, well, not just that, but the paranormal stuff. And that's really like, let's dig. What is this? There's something else going on here. Like, yeah, it just really opened up to what we're calling this path, which really isn't. Yeah. But there was kind of a dance between the simplicity of being and then trying to find it again. It was like an off and on switch that seemed to go on and on for a while, and then until it stopped.
So there was a curiosity and obviously a glimpse. Like, did you know what that glimpse was? Did you go researching? Did you ask anybody? Did you go on a path, or what happened?
Well, at the age of 7, I really didn't. I didn't have anyone to talk to because, being taught about Jesus and all of that, it just didn't really have any framework. But again, it felt so natural. But yeah, you could say there was a curiosity there of what was that, when self-consciousness came back. What is that? What was that happened? Yeah.
Yeah. That's heavy going for someone young age. You mentioned religions and things like that. I was thinking a bit about it today. And I thought, what if everybody as such was free, which they obviously are, but what if they really were? I'm not sure what would happen. Because I'll go into the consciousness a little bit later, but what's it like for you? How do you adjust into this way of living as such, or the final dropping away? How you got back into it? Like,
well, you could say it was a dance for a little bit, and I did, the spiritual path. And when I was in college, I studied religion and dived into Buddhism and Hinduism and all different kinds of sectors, just because I was just so fascinated by the diversity of these things. And the simplicity of some teachings like Zen Buddhism, like that was so beautiful. But it was like a natural adjustment. Like I said, there was kind of like an off and on going for a while until there was just kind of like a natural abiding in it. There was like beliefs that were falling away, armor coming off. So it wasn't just like instant, hey, here we are, seeking's over. It really kind of was like a slow unveiling. Or you could use the word integration, where the body finally was just, it was, the beliefs weren't there in the nervous system, because this nervous system was had a lot of anxiety and OCD and depression. Okay. And so it seemed like the body took a bit that's just what it seemed like. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, usually a guru or a teacher comes along, or a book or something falls off and hits us in the head, or one of those moments.
Yeah. Alan Watts arose here. He was the cat that popped up, and I tell you what, he was so beautiful and wild, and I deeply resonated with him, and still do resonate with this character. But that was, you could say, the first little guide or book that
Yeah.
came through. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of his books. Yeah.
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 Um, this isn't a path for everybody, and it's not a message you can really promote too much. And it's like,
Mm,
people gravitate towards it because whatever's predestined need
sure. Yeah.
to happen. And but get into that way of being. What happened? Did the mind collapse? What about thought processes? Did life become easier for you, or obviously it's a series of dropping a neti
Yeah.
approach. I think
Hmm.
works the best.
Yeah.
So what
So
was it
there,
like when you integrated? What was life like?
well, you could say, I mean, there's still thought forms that arise here, but there isn't what say the heaviness of self-consciousness. So there used to be, like I said, a lot of anxiety and OCD, depression and unworthiness, because that's what I took on as a conditioning from my folks and my culture and community. And that just doesn't arise anymore. Now it would come in like little flickers every now and then. It would kind of arise and choke one out, seemingly. But it's just, it started to loosen its grip, and now it's like, it's just not there. But there's still all natural emotions like anger and frustration and sorrow and gratitude and happiness and bliss. I mean, all of those things can appear, but what can I report that really doesn't anymore is insecurity or doubt about this, unworthiness, really. All of that has seemingly vanished, interestingly. Yeah.
So insecurities are probably based on the false idea of the me, the false me, are they? Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, just beliefs, things that we learn, and especially depending on your character and where they were raised or your parents. I mean, each character is a little different. If you have a model of unworthiness, monkey see, monkey do. That's what seems to be taken on, even if there was in the parent glimpse of the child. So that didn't save me from anything, so to speak. But there's still challenges that arise here. Life goes on. I really like to see this like chop wood, carry water. You still pay bills or taxes or, have cranky neighbors. All of that can still arise. It just doesn't have the intense stickiness or heaviness. Things move through much quicker. Doesn't mean there's not anger though. Yeah.
So that brings to me to ask about free will and choice. The doer.
Mm.
Talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So self-consciousness is what oneness plays for a little bit. And in that arena, free will is very believable because it's a belief system. So it feels like choices are very heavy. And it always feels like there's a fork in the road. Like, oh my gosh, if I go left instead of right, the consequences. I can ruin my life, my destiny, whatever it is, my mission, whatever idea we have. And that's just the wellspring of self-consciousness. When there's no longer self-consciousness, there's just this. And I can relate it to kind of like being a dog or a cat. They are one with what is, and they can have all kinds of sensations and emotions, but they don't have the separate idea in imagination that they're doing it or that they're separate from totality. There's just movement and eating and sensation. It's just what's arising. No self-consciousness. But self-consciousness isn't wrong. It's just the game oneness plays. It's just limiting. Yeah.
And it's a form of suffering, of course.
Yeah.
There must
But
be that.
self-consciousness can be very enjoyable too. So the sense that we call like the sense of me obviously can have joy. It obviously can have highs, but it has the opposite of a low. So it swings from drastic polarities that are either very, very drastic or can just be like this. But it's always in oscillation of those highs and lows, and it wants to be on the high end.
Yeah, and that person really can't. That phantom person, I think finds it really difficult to stay present because it's the end of it. I mean, it's got to like go for the joy. I mean, there's joy, there's there's sadness. It's a continuous anxiety, like you spoke about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I will clarify too, though, because I said like it wants to cling to the highs, but there is some self-consciousnesses or senses of separation that cling to the woe is me or the low or the victim, right? There can be an identity in that too. So it just kind of depends where the character gets that rush. But you're right. It can't be here in the simplicity. Nope.
And is that always present?
Well, there is only presence. And sometimes presence appears as a person looking for presence. It's quite interesting and a paradox.
So is there a gift in that presence for people?
Oh, well, I mean, I mean, you could say it's all a gift. It's all a gift because within form, black implies white, high implies low, illness implies health, death implies life. So as long as there's form, there's going to be the apparent opposite. What we're saying, though, is there's really no opposite. There is no other.
So there's presence there. Obviously, you're present. You're here.
There's just not an idea that I'm separate from that, you could say.
So you're not separate from the presence.
Oh, there is only presence. There is no separation. Separation really is just imagination.
So separation would be the idea of a person that is present. Is that it? That's mind, is it?
I guess you could say that. Yeah. I mean, it's just really the fabrication of the sense of self. It lives in imagination. It's really what we call heady. It really isn't a mind. There really isn't that headiness. It is all oneness. It's just masquerading. Yeah. That's why it's a paradox and really hard to talk about.
And if there's no person to get this is really a hopeless message.
Yeah, in a way you could say that, but it's for some reason oneness is speaking about it, talking about itself, and does love hearing itself. It's interesting, isn't it?
And it can't help but inquire in on itself because it doesn't know itself.
Yeah. I mean, really, even self-inquiry, whatever it is, the questions, the commenting, it's all the wellspring of oneness. It's just when there's a sense of I'm not there yet, I'm not it, whatever that is, God, source, presence, awareness, whatever we want to call, it's just looking for it because it thinks it's a certain quality, and it's not. It's already this. It's your face. It's breath. It's that simple. Yeah.
And the idea of me, obviously, is a false, is erroneous concept. So, but to try and get rid of the me, it just reinforces the me, doesn't it? I mean, so how do you approach this?
Right. And what do we call defining me, though? Is that a personality? Because if we're saying we're trying to drop a personality, then it's like that's never going to work because the personality is presence appearing as a personality.
So I can say, I'm here. Yeah. And this is me. Yeah.
I mean, because we use that verbiage like I and me.
Yeah.
Otherwise we would sound so crazy. You know what I mean? But when we say me, it's just the sense of separation, which is deeply insecure. It is deeply insecure and it never knows what to do. And it's always projecting into the future or the past of like, oh my God, what is next? I don't know what's next. I need to know what to do when what next comes. It's just in that hypervigilance, you could say, and which is panicky and survival. Yeah.
Is that sense of separation, is it an energy contracted in the body or is it a mindset?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not just the body. All of this, the atmosphere is the body of one. So when the sense of separation arises here, it's the whole atmosphere, It's everything. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why when we feel like we're separate, we there's gurus popping up and teachers and books and billboards saying you're unworthy or you're not there yet, or you're damned, it's like a reflection from the belief systems, because this is all tabula rasa. It has no meaning, but that's what oneness plays. It has that game that goes on, that kind of hologram, and then instantly it seems to vanish, and there's just the simplicity of what is this, whatever that may be. That
clean slate, like you spoke about there, like we're born with as such, apparently. With a clean slate. I mean, there are different stages people can say about this, but then conditioning happens. It's like it's inevitable in a way. But then again, if there was no conditioning, that power, it wouldn't realize itself, would it? I mean,
and I can't say, because maybe for some characters there never was a sense of separation. You know what I mean? I really can't say for sure if there was a deep conditioning. And some characters obviously have very heavy conditioning, very neurotic, and some is just more subtle. But obviously, if there's a body, there's still going to be some form of conditioning or habit. What drops is the idea that those habits are completely wrong or separate from oneness. Yeah.
What is that power, Anna? That powers everything. Have you any idea?
Well,
how can you describe it?
Well, I mean, you could say we are that power. Everything is that power. There's many words we could use, but no word can ever bind us. And that's the beauty of it. Words are beautiful, but it's all wordlessness appearing as the word. And it doesn't mind because it doesn't have one. So it doesn't get too attached to the definitions of this or the words we're using because it really doesn't mind. It doesn't care. These are just, pointers. We can use any word.
So
Some hit home more though. Yeah.
That power doesn't care at all what happens.
Not in this. Well, yeah. It doesn't care about in the sense of the verbiage. Like some people get really hung up of like, oh my God, I'm not presence. I don't like using the word presence or awareness or conscious. We can get really hung up on those things. They're just words. Yeah. They're just words. But obviously caring can appear like caring for your babies, caring for your community, caring about your body, caring about taking out the trash, paying your bills. But that's all the manifestation of oneness appearing as those apparent responsibilities. It's very natural and ordinary.
So that's that power coming through. Like it's a bit like what you're saying is a bit like a light bulb is nothing until the power comes through.
Sure, absolutely. We're the light bulb and the power. So it's a simultaneity though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
yeah. I just keep going back to the fact that it can't be known. That power can't be known.
No, I could say it can be intuitively known. Yeah. But intuition can't be taught. Intuition is primordial intelligence.
Can you talk a bit about that? What do you mean about its primordial intelligence? Can you describe that to us a bit, that intuition?
Yeah, it's prior to the idea that you ever were born or separate. It is before even a thought seems to manifest that I am not. I need to get this or know this. It is. It's so natural. It knows everything I'm speaking about because it's already awake. It's naturally confident. It's just primal. That's why I use nature a lot as analogies or examples. Like a cat doesn't need to know it's a cat before it can be a cat. Same with a tree or a mouse or a bumblebee. It just is what it is naturally. It doesn't need to think about it. Yeah.
And is there any start or finish to this?
Well, you could say it's the alpha and the omega. So it's the start and the finish simultaneously. Yeah.
That's incomprehensible, to be honest.
Totally. Oh, it totally is. You're right. But it can be sensed. It can be felt because the body is a manifestation of formlessness. So that's why when we speak and we communicate or we read beautiful words or watch a video, it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't logically get what this character's saying, but my whole body's saying, hell yes. Or something within is just like, yes, obvious. Oh my God, because this is it too. So obviously it communicates like that. It just doesn't need to communicate through this logic headiness. So there's a seer, there's an intuitive knowing. It's just, we don't know what intuition is when we're trying to figure it out through contemplation and logic.
And they say the mind is only there 5% of the time during the day.
Did you say 5%?
5, yeah, 5%.
Interesting. We can put a number on it.
That's what I read last night. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's there at all. I mean, even the mind, thought forms, or it's just happening. It's just arising, like birdsong.
Or the controller.
No one's controlling it. Yeah, no one's controlling it. Yeah.
That's the thing, the controller. There's no controller, right?
No.
That means...
But that obviously can appear and does.
That power has no idea what's happening whatsoever. Because it's not controlling anything.
No.
That is absolutely...
It is. Yeah.
It's
mind-boggling.
It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they actually crucified Jesus, because he's probably stubborn.
I know, right? Yeah, he was saying the same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was just saying, hey, y'all, we're all sons, we're all Christ, it's all this, and they're just, let's make a religion,
Let's make a business, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And what about time, Anna? Time.
Yeah, that's timelessness appearing as time. They are literally inseparable.
Too much.
We can't separate them. But I will say the linearity of time, it loosens its grip. It's seen to obviously not be linear and stagnant, like I was born and here I am on a path walking to the grave. It's seen as very malleable, pliable, wispy, windy, like a lava lamp, liquidy. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no history there, like an idea about your life playing in the background, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you could say that's gone. All those apps in the background aren't open anymore.
The apps, yeah. There was a guru girl, she used to call them apps as well.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
I thought it was a cute way of putting it, actually, apps.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we could just
Yeah.
delete them when we want to, but, some of them just keep coming back.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get you.
Um, so what about death? The big one. Is there such a
Yeah.
thing?
So no, this is already death. This is death and life
Life is death.
Yeah, it's all one. But you could say, obviously, within the apparent story or the character's movie, the body will die. Obviously, it will die. And when that time comes, there might be sorrow. There might be maybe even a trickle of fear. I can't say when that's arising, but it's what's immediately arising. And then maybe there's a moment of mourning, because that's a natural response to something that's actually arising. It's not imagined, you could say. It's just, it's also seen, though, that you don't actually die. But that doesn't mean there's still not mourning of the character or the parent story or the movie. Like, that's just something that's natural, and it's what's actually arising. Like, maybe you go to the doctor and they give you 5 months to live because they found a tumor or something. We're just playing around here. But then from that, there can be a response in the body of, oh, crying, or not, laughing, celebrating. I can't say, but it's only from an immediacy. There's no imagining my death because this is already it.
This is already death, you said. It's like then this that would mean this isn't real. This is unreal.
And real simultaneously. It's like the ones and the zeros of the Matrix code.
Yeah, the Matrix.
Or the masculine and the feminine. They are one. So it's real and unreal. To say it's just unreal is it's really, part of my French, it's kind of half-assed, because obviously there's an appearance of a body and an appearance of a sequence. It is and it is not simultaneously. Yeah.
But we spoke about that power doesn't know itself, and it's like it happens. Everything happens because of that. In spite of everything, that in spite of it, it happens. But like, that's like the real and the unreal meeting together.
Well, yeah, you could say they never were apart. You could say, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that means that does that make time? Does that produce time?
What?
Does that produce time because they're not apart?
Well, they're inseparable. So this right here is formlessness appearing as form, or timelessness appearing as time, or the infinite appearing finite right now. Like, yes, they can't be taken away. That's why we can't find ourselves out there. There is no out there.
And what about, there's a loneliness about this somehow. That's like, yeah, because just reflecting here myself, it's like there's that power can't know itself. I'll never know what it is. And it will never know what it is. That's like, even the loneliness, that actually implies someone, maybe. But then it seems like that's the gateway to being, like,
yeah,
yeah.
I get what you're saying. For some, they have this kind of thing where it's like they fall into the zero. I am absolutely nothing, and there's nothing here, and this is all ether. And that you could say, if there's so little bit of self-consciousness, that can feel really lonely, heavy, lonely. But till it's recognized that you are me and I am you, and that all of this fiesta is oneness, then that's that love part and that adoration, and each character obviously can embody or, share that differently. But until that's seen, it'll feel very lonely and cold, or, like I said earlier, kind of half-assed. But all of this is it. All of it. That's why there can be such a delight with form. It's delicious.
So there's a bliss, there's a joy, obviously, that happens about you.
Yeah, it can arise, but don't get me wrong, brother. Anger can arise here. Real feistiness can appear here too. Oh yeah. But that's bliss too. You could say I don't like saying the backdrop, but it's like there is only bliss, and it's because it's so blissful. It allows these beautiful emotions to dance around. It's a play. It's Leela. Yeah.
So when I'm hearing you talk, it's obvious you live a free life. You know, you're free as such. What is that like? You know,
It's what's a free life though? From the outside, it might look quite ordinary. Me breastfeeding my baby, unloading the dishwasher,
okay,
folding laundry. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
there's just no longer this idea of, oh my God, folding laundry is such a waste of time and it's keeping me away from my seeking to the divine. It's like, no, there's just like such a contentment there, right? Obviously, there's preferences still. The
hmm
character still has preferences, but there's no longer an idea that I need to be doing some kind of something else to get to where I already am. It's just, it's seen that there is only this and this is it.
And is that because
Mhm.
the false control, the controller, the idea of the controller vanished as such?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just the negotiator's not there anymore. And the one who's always wanting more is just not appearing anymore. It used to be very heavy though, because I was conditioned by my folks for the woe is me, or I need
Yeah,
more, the consumerism, right? Especially in Western culture. Yeah.
joined the club. I was conditioned like that as well by my folks as well. And I used to get
Yeah.
the committee
Yeah.
meeting. Something happened, the committee meeting would form in my mind. That committee meeting, that, God, it can get so neurotic, can't it? I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it's
And
painful.
even
Yeah,
neurotic stuff can, like the committee meeting, maybe
yeah.
it does appear, like I was saying, like anything can appear in this, but it's just, let's say it doesn't have that grip. Like, let's say the committee meeting would be going on all night. You'd have insomnia because you're up there. Oh my God, da, da, da. It just, maybe it'll rise and then fizzle out because anything can appear. But you're right. As long as there's trying to manipulate or control, there's always going to be that kind of meeting
So
of trying to change
how
things.
can
Yeah.
people see through that idea of the controller? Because that seems to be a lot of suffering
Mm.
for people.
Well, for most, they practice presence. That's what they do, and you could say that's like a pseudo band-aid until the actual apparent dropping arises. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's, they say decorating your prison cell, but there isn't a prison cell already. That's why I go straight to it. It's already. But I gotta say, sometimes just hearing this message, it's just, what was my issue? What was I even looking for again? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's like, you could say the nervous system of the body is just a habit. It's a habit to seek. It's a habit to seek. And just like any other kind of habit, it can seem like it takes a minute or two for that to dissolve. Kind of like, for example, maybe you drink coffee for 20 years straight and then you stopped. There may be a little bit of a withdrawal that arises. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But you're not controlling that withdrawal. It's just the nervous system operating and flushing things out. You have no control of that at all. Yeah.
But how do people know when the controller's gone? I mean, is there, how is that known?
Oh, well, the one who wants to know won't be there anymore, so it won't even be an issue. It's like I said, when there was an apparent drop thing when I was a kiddo, it felt so natural. There wasn't even the thought of, oh my God, is this it now? Is this it now? Is
Hmm.
it like that's that? Because that self-consciousness, it just doesn't even come up. It's interesting. I can't explain it. It's just those thoughts don't appear of, am I there yet? Is this it? Maybe if I move over here to the right just 2 inches, I'll be there. Like it's just gone. And then there's just the naturalness of response and action, whatever's going on, which could be heated, comfortable, or uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Anything can appear.
So there's an
Anything.
authenticity about life, in a way, maybe.
Say that again. Say that again.
There's an authenticity, maybe. Would that be it?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. It's organic and authentic, which I have to say, two characters of oneness may not resonate with each other. They may not get along, even if there's no seeking. Look at the jungle, look at the animal kingdom, look at nature. You can see that already, and that is harmony. So simple.
It's so simple, yet just to be what you are. It's like telling someone, just be what you are. It's like, okay.
Yeah. How do I be authentic? It's just, there's always trying to be like, there's just a tension. There's like a tension of like, oh my God, am I being my natural self? Is this authentic? Is this what confidence looks like? And those are like, those types of sectors are huge money makers. I will make you confident. I will make you wealthy. I will make you prosperous. I will make you authentic. And what we're speaking about is like, you can't make that because you don't even know what authenticity is as long as they're seeking.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine it's yeah, confidence. Yeah, confidence. It's like a con job. Um, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's like trying
Yeah, I
to
like that.
be confident. Okay, I'll be confident. Like
Right.
straight away, you're not
Right.
confident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
yeah, but that's like seeing through. That's when we see through things. But obviously, most of the world doesn't see through things. Is what about certain people end up on the path? I mean, I was the last one to think I'd end up on this path. I mean, my
Mm-hmm.
life was like no, yeah, this was. I was actually curious. I was kind of spiritual, and there was things kicked off
Mm-hmm.
when I was young. But it
Mm-hmm.
just got completely pushed away for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And but here I often think, obviously now there was no choice in anything that I did. This just happened the way it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is everything predestined?
The reason why I don't like the word predestined is because the word pre is in there, which
Mm,
assumes there's some kind of planning that happened. I can't say. We're speaking of an absolute mystery. Now, there can be what seems like purposes, passions, inspirations, like a character who is a fabulous painter. They'll go, this is my destiny. But we can label it that, but it's really just what's natural for that character, what's arising, that inspiration. We just have to like put these meanings on top of things like, oh my God, this is your mission on earth to get
mm.
all your paintings out. And then we add on stress and then maybe some insecurity because if I'm not painting, or singing or whatever it is, then, oh my God, I'm not living up to my potential and my purpose. But if you ask a cardinal, if him singing or her singing was it predestined, I don't know. What would it say? It wouldn't even have an idea of that. It's just what it does. It's just what's natural. It's just authenticity and what's organic.
Everything is powered by that
Yeah,
that
totally.
power of potential, whatever it
You could
is.
say that. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah,
So
sure.
is that sort of dreaming this or producing
Hmm.
this?
You could say that. Sure. Because it's fun for it. It's what's interesting. Otherwise we would just be null. We would be void totally. This wouldn't even arise or appear. We would just be ether, in which we are. But I think you get where I'm trying to go with this a little bit.
Yeah, my head is just kind of whirring now with different things, and it's like there's different things coming up, but you can't pre-think a thought either, and that
Mm.
power can't pre-dream a dream. How can this, like, this is only going to happen the way it's going to happen? I sound like a complete like what I'm on about
I don't
is
know
like,
what's next. Like, I don't know
yeah,
what's
like
next.
we
You know what I
don't know
mean? Like,
what's
I don't know what's next.
next. I'm
Yeah.
trying to hit on
God,
that
no.
stuff. We do not know what's next, do we? Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I mean, it's probably unlikely, that Godzilla is going to bust through the wall.
Mm,
But
could
yeah,
happen.
you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine, yeah, well,
That would be amazing.
it would be. Like,
You get a lot of views for that one.
I think I mentioned it in another show, there was some scientist, he was doing some sort of an experiment somewhere, and they were doing an experiment on free will and choice, and they came up with the fact that all decisions are made 6 seconds before they're actually made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard
And
that one. Yeah.
it cracked him up. The guy wasn't right after. I mean,
It's so interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like,
So interesting.
but what about people with a tough past and like people that
Totally.
have made mistakes or triumphed? They can't
Yeah, sure.
really.
Why not?
It was supposed to happen that way. There's
Well, I
no.
don't want to say it was supposed to. I mean, we can, again, we're putting on meaning, some heaviness there. Just like you were
Yeah,
sharing, you had a heavy past, right? You had a
yeah,
little bit of turbulence with your folks or whatever. Same with this. We could go into that, but that's just what's arising.
yeah,
Some plants have it really hard growing in the scorching heat and blistering winds and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, but they're not like, oh my God, I'm being prepared for something so great right now. I
yeah,
am going to be a hero. It's just what's arising. I mean, obviously through those winds and stuff, there's a resiliency. Obviously, I like to use the example of going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you're not lifting marshmallows. You're trying to gain muscle, right? Like there's a sense of adding resistance. So obviously there's contrast and resistance that does appear. There is an appearance of evolution that does arise, and it does still arise even if there is no seeking. Yeah.
Are there ever moments where you kind of go, God, oh, it's like so much, it's so big, this whole thing, this recognition, this.
There can be an awe of like, oh my God, like it is so vast and so majestic and beautiful, and yet so simple and small simultaneously. So yeah, there can totally be awe and wonder, obviously, because the finite mind can never understand infinity. But there's such a joy of that prism, you could say, of the finite mind, infinity using the finite mind to speculate on itself. It's just such a joy. Why else have the appearance of the finite?
And we're like puppets.
That's the love part, Yeah.
We're like puppets, aren't we? Kind of.
Well, I don't like the Pinocchio thing, because if you're a marionette, there's strings and there's someone else controlling you, which implies two. Yeah. Infinity uses the finite vessel for play. You could say it is one. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
There isn't even one, is there?
Yeah. One and none simultaneously. Yeah.
Is there a form of grace that can happen for people to sort of fall away? Is it grace, obviously?
Well, right now you are grace. Your face is grace. But I get that too. I've heard that a lot, especially when I was on the spiritual path. They're like, oh, well, I'm waiting on grace. Grace will come for you when it's your time. Well, fuck you. What? Isn't this some kind of dogmatic crap? I heard this in Christianity, which always felt, waiting on grace. But this is grace.
Yeah, maybe that's where it's coming from. Maybe it's,
this is grace. It's appearing as your face. Yeah. That's just not understandable or believable.
Yeah, this isn't understandable, is it?
Mm-mm.
No.
But it can be sensed.
What's the sensing?
Intuited.
That intuited.
It can be sensed and intuited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit like if someone said, what were you before you were born? You can kind of intuit what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Because were we born? Well, or do we just think we were?
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, there's no such thing, is there, as being born?
No.
Yeah.
But there is a play of that, obviously. There's a story of that. There's our birth certificate and our little stories and our novels. Yeah.
Yeah, and through that ignorance, there's like a system in play. Schools, systems, law, all these things are totally based on insecurity and ignorance. I just think it's just an idea came to me today.
Well, yeah, you could say that, but I don't know, because even in the natural world, if you look at animals, they have kind of a system as well, but there's no self-consciousness there at all. There seems to be hierarchies and systems and what looks like rules and stuff like that within the natural world, in the animal kingdom, but there is no self-consciousness. It's just what's arising. So I can't say if, all self-consciousness and seeking dropped, will there not still be the play of form? As long as there's form, there's still going to be contrast and diversity and black and white, the yin yang, but it's already harmony. So gravity, laws, you run through a stop sign and hit a pedestrian, there should be a ticket or some kind of an apparent consequence, because this is a game of life. We're playing Monopoly, so to speak.
And what about the big four-letter word, love?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? What was it? And what is it now? Like, is there such a thing?
Well, of course there is. We're speaking of unconditional love, which can appear as seeking or hatred or judgment or really heinous villain things, or the most beautiful. But within unconditional love, there can be personal love. Like a marriage, so for example, if we have a lot of superstitions or belief about this simplicity, you'd be like, oh my gosh, look at that couple over there. If they were truly free, they wouldn't need each other, be married or have kids. And that's just more nonsense, because that's just a preference of the character. And the preference of the character is the mystery appearing as that preference. What drops is attachment. The need, the codependency is what drops, but there can still be that romance My God, thank God, because love and romance and all that's so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Especially love for food. Thank God for food right now. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. Food is my thing lately too.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
but so there's love happens, and that power comes through the body, and love can happen. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And there are
Yeah.
preferences and things like that. So it seems like there's a natural programming in the body that lights up,
Mhm.
that's left naturally there. Would that be correct, or to say that?
Well, I mean, love can appear, but there can be also dislike. Now, if we
Oh
again
yeah.
have superstitions, we think, oh my gosh, if I was enlightened or free or the one, I would love everybody. I'd be like Mother
Oh
Teresa.
God, yeah, I've heard
And then we
those.
think if
Yeah.
I'm not like that, something's off. It's like, no, again, look at the natural world, look at the animal kingdom. There's likes and dislikes, there's boundaries,
Oh yeah,
that's
big time.
all of
That
that still
happened for
arises.
me.
It's very natural.
The
Yeah.
likes and the boundaries came into my life because I just saw
Yeah.
things, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful way of living. It's
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, the extreme of love everybody, and that like codependent kind of an outlook
Mm-hmm.
on life.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
and there's passive aggressiveness and all these psychological things.
Yeah.
But this isn't about psychological stuff, is it? This is about, like, as you say, going to the root, pulling it all out by the roots, really, not trimming the branches.
Yeah.
And
Right.
people aren't ready for this. Some people are, and some people aren't. I mean,
Right. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
You're right.
it's not really. There are
But
no
that's okay.
customers for this message, is there? Like, as Nisargadatta
Not
says.
really. Not
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what else to say. But there's definitely that mystery of what that is. Just leaves me thinking, it can never be known, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and it can't be understood.
Doesn't need to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how would people get this? Again, it goes back to
They
that.
won't. You don't need to get it. You already are it. What drops is self consciousness. But obviously, as long as there's self consciousness there, there's going to be a trying to grasp this. But it's completely ungraspable. You cannot grasp the wind. I mean, really think about it. Do you wake up every morning going, air? I need to be focused on air to breathe. It's just something that's just so natural. It's just there. It's just there, just like gravity. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and be pondering it and thinking about it, this heady thing. It's just natural, like breath. It's that natural, that simple. But obviously, yeah, again, if there's self-consciousness, it's going to go around and around until it seemingly explodes into itself.
And how can you drop that self-consciousness? What would you say to people?
You can, but mysteriously enough, just by chatting about this, it can seem to just vanish, kind of like fog on a sunny day. And a lot of people ask me for advice, and my advice is to dance or to get out in nature, because I mean, it already is this. Do something you like doing, if that's painting, paint. If you like to sing, sing, because already it is this. It's appearing as your talents and your preferences. But I really feel that nature is a beautiful and simple reflection, because everything within nature, and this is nature too, it's just naturally itself already. All of it is already in harmony.
So there's a resonance. You resonate with nature, and people can
Mm-hmm.
resonate. You can resonate with them,
Mm-hmm.
telling them about nature, and it's kind of all
Yeah.
interconnected. You're
Yeah.
saying, yeah. It's like,
Right. Absolutely. Or music. For some, it's music. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's like, as soon as we try to think about it, it seems like we lost it. But thought isn't needed. Thought is what seems to arise when we think we've lost it. But it's really just such a simple, again, primordial space. There's no self-consciousness. Like Nisargadatta said, it's being conscious, not self-conscious. So there's a consciousness or a seer. It just doesn't have this upstairs game going on of polarities going back and forth with each other. It's just this. Joom. Yeah, it's yeah.
and when you're saying thought isn't needed,
Mm-hmm.
the thought, I don't want to be here, can't make me not be here. I mean, it sounds
Right.
ridiculous, but if we really thought about it, I'll will
Mhm.
myself not to be here. Okay, I've
Yeah,
just
we
done it
learned that.
and I'm still
Yeah.
here. I
Yeah.
mean, is that how useless and it is in a way? I mean, it has its function,
Hmm.
as in for mathematics and
Hmm.
logical reasoning and things like that.
Oh, of course. Mm.
But it's like a tool to be used, and most times it uses us, doesn't it? The mind thoughts, self consciousness comes into it that way too, maybe.
It seems to, but again, it is freedom or oneness appearing as that. It's just biting its own tail. That's all it is, and really, it's a conditioning. We learn, get away from this, get away from myself, deny yourself, deny this, deny all of this, because really, depending on the dogma you were raised in, whether it was religious or non, there's usually some kind of subtlety of deny yourself or deny this and have something else, get something else, get something else, whether that's really drastic or subtle. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's why I can only celebrate that it is the appearance of the body and the personality and thought forms and form. Form is not to be denied. It's the celebration of formlessness. Yeah. What drops is dogma.
Can be a good servant and a bad master, as they say. Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're right. Logic does appear. And so does knowledge. Like if you went to school to be an engineer, that doesn't vanish. It still arises and appears, or a doctor or a lawyer. All of it arises. It's just, it doesn't have the incessant wheel going on. It's just, it arises when it's needed. It's done. It arises when it's needed and it's done. Yeah.
So as you say, it's that self consciousness is the root of the problem, really, like of the
Well, you could
me.
say, but I'm not going to say that that's wrong, because everything is the absolute from seeing here. It's all the absolute. It's all harmony. Yeah. And it's a daydream.
The whole lot to
The sense
daydream.
of separation. Yeah, the seeking is all the daydream. It's kind of like when you're in school in a class you don't really like, and you're up there like just daydream, can't wait to go to this class, and then all of a sudden, boom, the bell rings. Oh my God, time for lunch. You're just there automatically. It's like, oh, what's the big deal? Because it's just an imagination that you're separate, or the doer. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's no way in and no way out of this, as such.
Well, the question only comes from the idea that you're bound. And if you're really bound, like if you're hogtied, man, yeah, get some help. Get some scissors, get a knife, call 911. You should do that. But that's naturally what's arising. But when it comes to the idea that you're bound in energetics of separation, or that, your ego's got you, or the devil's got you, or whatever the dogma is, it's just, that is a fabrication. It is a fable. But there could be real bondage, like you're in handcuffs or something like that. That's immediately arising, and it may suck. But that's what is.
So you can't explain what arises, really, can
No,
you?
but we are trying, aren't we? And oneness does seemingly like to hear itself, and these videos and podcasts do arise because sometimes oneness wants to talk about this. Sometimes oneness wants to go to the hookah bar or watch Netflix. It's very interesting. I can't explain it.
And I've run out of questions, I think, and it's been wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, it's been a delight.
You left me with a few things to think about as well.
All right. All right.
And you got great energy and joy about you, and it's lovely to see,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Now, you've got a website, haven't you? Am I right in this? Wonderfully Nothing? Is it
.com.
.com? Wonderfully Nothing.com.
You got it.
Yeah, I
That's
got
it.
that.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it in the description below, so people can visit. And you do one-on-one teachings and group sessions, or can they find you on your website?
Yeah, I do. So that you can sit down and book a private chat with me, or we can just sit like this and talk, right? Or you can join Patreon, where we do little monthly Zoom calls, Q&As. And actually, this Thursday, there'll be a free hang. So yeah, that's at 3:00 CT. I'll be posting it to YouTube. So guys, just follow me on YouTube if you want to hear about it. We won't get all buzzy about it here. Yeah.
Cool. And have you got a book or anything, or a book? Do you have
I don't.
No.
I don't. I was starting to write one. And there was
lovely.
an interest by a publisher, but it just didn't. It just wasn't. There's,
happening.
just not yet. We'll see.
Well, I look forward to reading it when you get it done. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So Anna,
Mhm.
apparently we'll have to say goodbye. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, John. And please know that the door's always open. You can always email me.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I will do. I will do. And we keep in touch and things.
Mm,
And until then, look, take
sounds
care.
great. Thank you, John. You take care. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you. Bye.